you would, please bow your heads. Dear Lord, thank you for bringing us all here safely this morning. We ask that you watch over our members not only here, but also all those that may be traveling right now and having summer plans. We just ask that you bless this time. It's a time of fun and freedom, and the kids are out of school, and we just ask that you bless us to enjoy it and enjoy the memories that we can make and the travel that we can do. Keep us safe. Bless this time together this morning, and bless this food. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, a couple of quick announcements before our speaker comes up this morning. Next week is induction meeting. We'll be here at the KC starting at 6:30. Is that correct? 6:30. We did have an invite go out in the newsletter this week. Apparently there was a little snafu in the link that was only allowing people to RSVP one person. So even if you were kind enough to RSVP, unfortunately, I'm going to have to ask you to go back in and add that one more person if your spouse is coming. This is an event where spouses are welcome, and you are encouraged to bring your spouse and let him or her have the opportunity to interact with our club members and kind of see what it is and hear what the upcoming year is all about. So as I heard that, please try to get your RSVPs by today so that Mr. Trefone can make all the arrangements appropriately for food and the like. I don't think we have any other announcements. Do we have any guests here this morning? Yes, sir.
My friend Steve Shazo, he's director of workplace management over at Dallas College, and Lake Highlands graduate as well, like myself. All right. Hey, everybody.
Welcome.
Steve, glad to be here this morning. Any other guests? All right, I will ask Mr. Trefone to come up and introduce our speaker this morning.
I know it's summertime, that was real low energy.
Struggling clap.
Good morning, Lake Highlands.
Good morning, Nathan.
Hope everyone's summer's off to a great start. I'm excited to welcome Abby Kaufman this morning. She's the CEO of Network of Community Ministries. I'll let her come up and talk more about the nonprofit, but how we got connected to her is our fellow Exchange at Crispo team, also board of RISD Board of Trustees Secretary. He connected us with Abby because of all the great work they do in all 14 zip codes that map to RISD, 3 of which are in Lake Highlands. So Abby, if I should come up and tell us more about the organization.
All right.
Good morning. Thank you so much. Can I take this out of the stand? Okay, great. Thank you. That makes me feel a lot better. Like Nathan said, I'm Abby Kaufman. I'm the president and CEO at Network of Community Ministries. Our address, our headquarters is in Richardson, Texas, but we do serve the 14 zip codes in Richardson Independent School District. And when we say that we serve those zip codes, we serve the entirety of those zip codes. So you don't have to be in the boundaries of RISD to receive our services, just in those zip codes. Talking about Network is my favorite part of the job, so thank you all so much for letting me tell you about Network. And I'm also going to share some information about why Network is here in the Lake Highlands community and how we impact it all directly, rather than from that broader 14 zip code perspective. So Network of Community Ministries was founded in 1985 following the economic downturn, when the faith communities came together and said, rather than serving each house of worship, having a congregant knock on their door and say, I need help, how do we centralize our efforts? And so we were born out of our faith community, and today we still have what are known as our stakeholders, that are entities that support Network through monetary contributions, in-kind contributions, volunteer hours, and referrals. 3 of those of which are right here in Lake Highlands. Last one on the way here, Lake Highlands United Methodist Church. East Side, which I still call Schofield, can't get past the name change. And also Grace Church Lake Highlands, which is a brand new church to your community. I'm familiar with this area. I grew up in Moss Haven Elementary before we went to the Park Cities, and when my husband and I moved back in 2015, we knew we wanted to be in Richardson Independent School District. So I went to every open house, I feel like, in Moss Farm and Forest Meadow and House Streets before we decided we were personally going to land in Richardson. But you know, if you have a 3.5-year-old like I do, and maybe they end up in STEM, maybe we'll see them at Bruckner together, or maybe they'll be across each other on the field if she ends up at Pierce and your kids end up at Lake Highlands High School. So when we talk about network, we talk about our neighbors. These are my neighbors too. These are, you know, I live in our IST, and this is who we serve. So our mission is right here. It's one of my favorite missions. It's to care, coach, and empower our neighbors as they seek an improved quality of life. And I love the first couple words of this, to care. When we talk about our services, you'll see in a minute, many of our services are for basic needs and emergency assistance. And the day you walk into a food pantry, you realize that there's not enough food in your pantry, that there's not enough money in your bank account, and you ask for help. That is not the easiest day. In fact, it's a really hard day. So we're going to care, we're going to coach, and the way that we integrate our entire service delivery model is in a coaching aspect, in everything from receiving food to our empowerment and stabilization programs. It's a coaching model. We are working with you, our neighbor, to ideally empower you to not need our services. And then the last part is an improved quality of life. I love that too, because so many social services organizations, and I've worked in social services for over a decade. People are my passion. This is what I love doing. Focus on self-sufficiency. And self-sufficiency, while that is always the desired outcome, and it's definitely one of our visions for our neighbors, we also serve seniors. And self-sufficiency is not necessarily obtainable if I'm 72 years old with macular degeneration and I can't work a full-time job. So how do we help you age in place? So I love that focus on improved quality of life in our mission. So self-sufficiency is important. Like I said, our vision is here. All members of our community lead self-sufficient lives. Anybody who works in social services will tell you that our goal is that we don't need to have a job in 10, 15, 20 years. And we have 3 values as an organization, and this is really just how we show up every single day. The first is to love our neighbors. It's that simple. We are going to love on people, and we are going to make them feel welcome in our community. We're going to collaborate, and this is a great example of a collaboration. We serve 14 zip codes, and there's a lot that happens in these 14 zip codes. So how do we serve our neighbors most efficiently? How do we bring services in that we don't provide? And that's through collaboration. We aren't trying to duplicate services. We really want to make sure that we are being effective to living out our mission and our vision. And the last is also really simple. It's get it done. We have to get it done. We provide food, we provide clothing, we provide housing stabilization, we provide job search services. Food is not an option. So we've got to get it done every single day. How do you become a network neighbor? And this is our eligibility criteria. The first is you must live in one of these 14 zip codes. So this is our service area map. I believe, where are we standing? Are we in 243 today or 31? 3-8. Okay, I didn't look at my GPS apparently. But these are the 14 zip codes that we serve. It's a 46 square mile area. A lot of times people ask me, why don't you serve more than that? And I'll show you in a minute why we don't serve more than that. We're very intentionally place-based because in this area there's a lot of need. Where our little logo is, that's where we are in 75081, right off of 75 in Collins. I took Plano Road all the way here. And then our income criteria, this aligns with being 185% or more below the federal poverty level. And at 185%, you're actually not living in poverty. You're a little above poverty. And when you look at that, you do the calculation for a family of 3. That calculates to about $43,000 a year. My first job offer out of my master's degree program was worth $35,000 with no benefits. If I'm a single mom with 2 kids, $43,000 is, when we think about what kind of jobs we have in our workforce, that's a pretty competitive income. And so it doesn't take a lot to qualify to be a network neighbor. And I'll show you in a second why. Who is our network neighbor? we all live in this area or work in this area. RISD is the 5th most diverse school district in the state of Texas, and our service population reflects that. So 43% are Caucasian, the census, and we align with how our country counts. Ethnicity, Hispanic is considered ethnicity, not a race. So we've got this ethnicity breakdown. Of those 43%, 35% are Hispanic Latino. The other 65% are non-Hispanic or Latino. Little power surge. Cool. Okay. Well, I can read off my slides, so y'all don't have to see them while we're waiting to get back on. Is that this? Probably just
Alright,
search.
just turn the computer back on.
Yeah,
That's
it's gonna take a lot of boot.
Oh, the projector.
Projectors usually take a little while to reset,
Yeah.
because they don't wanna.
They don't want it. Cool. I can talk really loud, don't worry. Oh, nope, the mic's back on. But on this imaginary slide on the screen, is that we also we serve more predominantly females, and when I talk about a statistic in a second, that's why. When many people come to network, why would you need a food pantry? We do have some numbers that are a little higher on the unemployed side. If you're not having income coming into your house, that would make sense that you might need our services. But what's really surprising is about 24% of the neighbors that come to network are employed. So that means, again, I'm making $43,000 a year, and that's just simply not enough at the end of the month. And why? So, on this lovely pie chart that you can't see, it breaks down that it's back up, yay! 92% of our neighbors' income is going towards housing costs. So if we look around, you cannot find an apartment for under $1,000 in Dallas, Texas anymore. It doesn't exist. So our neighbors on average have about $1,400 a month in income. That might be Social Security, that might be their job. If you multiply this 1366 by, or divide that by 40, that it's out to about minimum wage. So if you're working at 7-Eleven, if you're working at Walmart, and then that money at the end of the month, 92% of that's going towards your rent, which leaves $110 for you to spend. Anybody in here write a daycare check every week, like me? My daughter's daycare is $195 for the week. Definitely not $110. So, anybody been to the grocery store recently and checked out for under $110 for your family? About fueling your car twice a month. So that is why we are here. And then, again, we serve the 14 zip codes in Richardson Independent School District. And so while we're based in Richardson, almost exactly two-thirds of our neighbors are here in Dallas. And if we look at our zip code distribution, about 44% of them live in these 3 zip codes that are quantified as Lake Highlands. So with the biggest contingency coming from 75243. So when you look at those 14 zip codes, what is that? It's 46 square miles in Dallas, Richardson, and Garland. It accounts for, gosh, I thought I could fix that. It knows, it accounts for 46 square miles in Dallas and Garland. Why did that go ahead in advance? That one slide, man. It's always one slide. That's 500,000 people, and so when everybody again says, why don't you serve more places? Well, I've got enough people to serve. It's about 200,000 households. This is an interesting statistic, this foreign-born person. So again, RISD is the 5th most diverse school district in the state of Texas. That means 1 in 4 of our neighbors was born in another country. Single-parent households is also more than 1 in 4, and why is that important? Typically, there's only one income coming into a single-parent household, and they're predominantly headed by women, so there's additional barriers. And in RISD, 57% of the students are considered economically disadvantaged. So like I said, I grew up in RISD. This was not the RISD that I grew up in. RISD has changed really significantly. And there's 76 distinct languages spoken in RISD, which in our service delivery makes it very interesting trying to provide services in 76 different languages. Specifically for Lake Highlands, In our service area, that's about 135,000 individuals, 60,000 households. A little higher on the foreign-born persons, 28.1%, and pretty aligned on the single-parent households, 27.7%. So, why do we exist as an organization? This is why. This is what we do. We serve those in poverty or working poor. And so, in our Dallas County, about 12.5% of the Dallas County population lives in poverty, 12.9% in our service area. Here in Lake Highlands, this skew higher. 75231, 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 live in poverty, similar to 75243. The next one is really troubling to me. It's how many children live in poverty in our service area. And in Dallas, that's about 1 in 5. In 75231, it's more than 1 in 3 children live in poverty, and same with 75243. Families in poverty is also high. People 65 plus is a little lower for Lake Highlands. And then this last acronym is ALICE, that means Asset Limited Income Constrained Employed. So working poor, fancy way to say, I have a job, I go to work every day, it's just not enough at the end of the month. And this is people that are a step above poverty, but are one paycheck away. And so for our service area, it's 28.9% here in these 3 zip codes in Lake Highlands. Almost half of 75231 is one paycheck away. More than 1 in 4 in 75238, and almost more than 1 in 3 in 75243. Some additional barriers that our neighbors face, and again, why Network exists. Lots of these households are receiving SNAP, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, so that's going to be your food stamps. There's overcrowding in households, where typically if there's overcrowding in a household, that means that there's a likelihood that they are facing housing insecurity if you're couch surfing or you're at risk of eviction. And for mental health days, this is also an important, and as we're expanding into mental health as an organization, about 14% of our neighbors experience poor mental health days. So let's again boil that down to Lake Highlands. About 16% of the service area is receiving food stamps or SNAP assistance. Of those, almost every single one of those households has a child or children in there. This next one is really startling, also where our neighbors' income is going. More than 50% of our area that we're serving in Lake Highlands are spending more than 30%, which is the typical threshold on their household income on rent. So again, that's a housing instability measure. And we are at 15.1% of poor mental health days. So all of those really fun statistics, what does that mean and why? It's why we exist. And so here's how Network works to serve all of those different areas. The first is through basic needs. So when we look at our mission of care, coaching, and empowering, we break it down into 4 main areas. And the first is, why is this? I'm so sorry. Has anybody ever had their PowerPoint possessed by a transition that you're like, I did not put that on there? And I have saved this thing so many times with these check marks turned off, and I think it just likes to continue to haunt me. I'll make sure they're all gone before I start talking again. I apologize, y'all. I joke with my staff. I have had the pleasure of working for some incredible CEOs over the course of my career, and most of them do not know how to open their email. So at least I've been moved to slide transitions in PowerPoint. Okay, here we go. So back to this. So we do, our services are fourfold. First is basic needs. So we talked a lot about in my previous slides, food insecurity. That number that in this service area, more than 1 in 4 children are food insecure. It's pretty crazy, isn't it, that we live in the richest country in the world, and 1 in 4 children, your children's classmates, your parishioners, the people coming into your businesses, they don't know who their next meal is coming from. That blows my mind that's a reality here in Dallas, Texas. So we provide food assistance in 2 ways. The first is through our community market. I've got pictures to illustrate what these look like. And then the second is through our mobile market. Our community market is located at our headquarters in Richardson. It is a client choice food pantry, but we choose to call it a community market. So when neighbors come in, they shop just like you would at a grocery store. You get your grocery cart, you go throughout, and you're able to select the different food items that you want for your household. And that's really critical, that selection and that client choice, for a few reasons. First, I like to go to the grocery store and pick out my own groceries. So that provides dignity. It provides dignity in that the neighbor is able to make choices for their family. Fifth most diverse school district in the state of Texas. Well, there's a lot of diversity in religion as well. So if I don't have halal meats or kosher foods available, maybe they're going to select vegetarian items. It eliminates food waste. So if I give you a can of corn and you really hate corn, that corn's probably not going to be eaten. And so that's going to go to the dust to the back of the shelf and hit an expiration date, and we don't need any more food waste. And then it also allows neighbors who might have different health conditions to select items for them, whether it's they're eating a heart-healthy diet or they have diabetes and they need to do blood sugar regulation. So that client choice is very critical. And I mentioned that we care, coach, and empower. So in these community markets, our neighbors also, when they come to network, they get what's called network bucks. They get a card. So you basically get a household budget every month in which you're able to shop in our community market in our clothing closet. $150 for the head of households for the community market, and then $50 for each additional person, up to $450. And so everything in our community market is priced. And fiscal management, fiduciary management, it's very important, and it's not a skill many of us were taught. I was not taught budgeting in high school. It's something that we typically learn on the fly. And so we've integrated into our programming as part of that coaching. Now, if a neighbor runs out of that $450 and they still need food, we're gonna have a conversation with them. I mean, we're not gonna turn you away, but again, how do we create a culture of empowerment? How do we give a hand up, not a hand out? This is one way that we do it. And then we have a mobile market. That's our community market on wheels. This might be what you see in the Lake Highlands area, and I'll show you all in a few slides where that is going. We have a clothing closet, so similar to our community market, it's you have network bucks, $50 per person in the household to go shop and set up like a thrift store. Basically, you can drive up to network, walk in the clothing closet entrance. You don't have to go through the front door and wait in a line. So if I want to go back to school shopping, it's as simple as pulling up at that door, walking in, grabbing a shopping cart, and going shopping. We have fitting rooms, and it's a really dignified space rather than being handed a stack of clothes in your size that maybe you don't like. We're able to provide utility and rental assistance once a year, and this is through generous partners like Vistra Energy, TXU, Atmos, Reliant on the utility side, and then rental assistance. We can only provide 1 month per our funder, and so what we do is we sit with a neighbor and we do a budget with them to try and figure out why they aren't able to make their rent for that month. And if they have an upside down budget, we're gonna try and understand why and get them on a right size budget. But basically, if you can't make your rent for the next month, we're gonna refer you to someone else because we don't wanna perpetuate a cycle of needing rental assistance. So I'm facing eviction this month, we're gonna be facing eviction next month, and now you've also exhausted your rental assistance options with us. Because our funder is a federal funder on rental assistance, you've exhausted it with every other organization too. So that doesn't meet the need of our neighbor in a holistic way. Many times for people, think about like February when we had the ice storms and the world shut down for 4 days. You can't go to work, either your business is shut down or you can't drive and you're an hourly worker. Those people didn't receive a paycheck for those 4 days. So this is the kind of common scenarios that we see. They've had a medical issue, maybe they've welcomed a new life to the world and they've been out of work for a little bit, but they're going back to work. And then we provide a lot of referrals. So as I said, in our values collaboration, we have a huge referral network that if we don't provide it, we know someone who can, and we will sit with a neighbor and pick up the phone and make that call with them. So here's just some pictures of what we do. This is our mobile market. Maybe you've seen it on wheels. It has refrigeration and freezers in here. It's got shelving. What's unique about this too is that it goes to 6 Title I schools in Richardson Independent School District during the school year. And during the summer, we go to the summer feeding sites that RIST is at. And we go during pickup time. So children can shop on this if they're taking the bus and mom and dad or caregivers are unable to pick them up. And we stock it with children-friendly items. Mac and cheese, Chef Boyardee, healthy, but children-friendly. And then we also have an educator pantry on here. We love our RISD teachers, regardless of what school they are in. Every educator in RISD can select 10 pounds of snacks from either our mobile market or our community market every single month to keep in their classroom, because kids get hungry and they should not be spending their hard-earned dollars on that. So in the Lake Highlands High School feeder pattern, this is where the mobile market goes. During the school year, we go to Thurgood Marshall, as well as Forest Lane Academy, which are just right around here. And this summer, we're at Skyview Elementary. And these schools we select alongside RISD for just the overwhelming need in those schools. We also go to 5 additional schools with emergency boxes that are not quite as in need of these mobile market services. We'll take our mobile market up to the RISD Backpack Bash. Network is actually a sponsor of that as well. Rather than providing school supplies, we pay RISD to provide those school supplies at Lake Highlands High School, as well as the one on the Richardson side of things. And then we take this mobile market a lot to Lake Highlands Public Improvement District events. So at Christmas time, we handed out over 200 turkeys and full fixings for their holiday meal with Santa Claus. And then we'll also be at the Watermark Urgent Care School Physical Day, which is just right there on 635. This is our community market. If you were to come up to our facility in Richardson, you can see its shelves are stocked just like in a grocery store. And then we have rolling coolers and display cases, display fridges and freezers. Most families, when they come to our community market, will leave with about 60 to 65 pounds of food. If we have produce, it can go up over 100 because produce goes back quickly, and if you can take 50 pounds of carrots, and you want 50 pounds of carrots, you can have 50 pounds of carrots. Year to date, we run on a July 1 fiscal year, so we're coming up on our new fiscal year. We have distributed almost 1.9 million pounds of food out of this community market, and 92% of that poundage has been nutritious, which is very important, that our families are getting nutritious food. This is our clothing closet, so you would walk in this door right here, and then grab your shopping cart and go shop down the aisles. We will run end caps at the end of the aisles during the holiday season with coats, Halloween costumes, special occasion dresses on prom season, and again, it just functions quite just like a thrift store would. So the coaching and empowerment component of our mission also takes form in our stabilization services. So we have 2 stabilization coaches on staff, and when a neighbor comes to Network for the first time, they go through a centralized intake process where we're looking at your income, we're looking at your employment history, we're looking at what barriers you have to quality of life or self-sufficiency. And this is where our stabilization coaches are able to do quite a bit. So they'll do comprehensive and ongoing case management as well as emergency case management. We help you enroll if you aren't in SNAP, Medicaid, Medicare, CHIP, TANF, acronym soup, benefits. We'll help you enroll with that. We also do a lot of referrals here. Financial education, budgeting. We have one of my favorite events coming up. We do a career fair twice a year, where we last career fair in February, we had 22 employers in our community room, and over 20 of our neighbors received a job. They were providing on-site interviews, and these aren't just unskilled, stock your shelves at Kroger or Walmart. Many of our neighbors have an education and just need additional face time with the person who's hiring. It's very hard to not be anonymous in a sea of Indeed resumes, and this just provides an additional touch point for our neighbors. And leading up to that, we do a professional social. So we have a professional social coming up June 22nd, where from 3 to 6, it's an open house. We've got a special part of our clothing closet roped off with professional wardrobe. We provide headshots to update your LinkedIn profile. We'll look at your resume, and we get you ready for that career fair. Coming very, very soon, in the next couple weeks, stabilization will expand to include mental health services. And so why I talk about poor mental health days? Well, mental health is very important to our neighbors, and it's important to us. So how do you have quality of life? Well, you've got to be mentally healthy to do that too. And so we'll be expanding to include that. Here is from our, on the left-hand side, those are our 2 stabilization coaches with some of our items from our most recent professional social in February. And on the right-hand side is our community room during our career fair. As you can see, it was packed with job seekers. So if you work in a place and you are looking to hire, we would love to talk to you. For our seniors, we all want to age in place, and many of our seniors are living on a fixed income. And as rates go up and everything goes up, it's getting harder and harder for that fixed income to stretch every single month. So we provide all the stabilization and all the emergency assistance services to our seniors, and then we take it a step further. We do home delivered food all over our 14 zip code area through both volunteer drivers and DoorDash. And then at our facility, we operate something called Loads of Love. And it's a room that has additional hygiene items, cleaning items, pet care items, because those are just things that our seniors may not have the budget for. Information and referral, again, very common. Collaboration. Handyman program, you don't have to be income qualified. If you've got a shed that needs to be built, gutters that need to be cleaned, ramps, pull bars, smoke detectors, you name it. We've got a handyman for you. They go out into our community every Thursday. So if you have a senior in your neighborhood who might benefit from these services, please feel free to refer them to us. Our handyman came back recently from a visit grumbling. They had walked up to a 3rd-story apartment, actually right in this area, to change a light bulb. And, I think they drove, 20 minutes here and then 20 minutes back, and the light bulb took all of 5 minutes, and I think they spent more time on the stairs than they did in this woman's home. But for that woman, she couldn't reach that light bulb, and it was the only source of light in her room. And so that light bulb meant a lot to that woman, and once we reframed that, they grumbled a little less. We do companion calls, so we just call and check in. So again, if you know a senior who could benefit from a friendly person, just giving them a call and saying, how are you doing, what do you need? Please refer them to us. And then community building is very important for our seniors. So many of them, their friends might have moved on, their family might have moved on, passed on. So we host in our community room in Richardson every Thursday is Seniors Day. We provide a warm lunch. For many of those seniors, that might be the only meal in the week that they eat with someone else. And then we provide all sorts of activities from chair yoga to heart healthy education. Yesterday's Seniors Day, I don't know if y'all know Charlie Pride. We didn't have Charlie Pride, but we had his brother, who sounds quite a bit like Charlie Pride, and he sings country tunes for us. We've got a fair day coming up with many donkeys and face painting and balloon artists, and it's a really fun event and one of my favorite days at work. Here are some pictures from our most recent holiday season events. So on the left-hand side, we've got our seniors doing trivia, and she was hiding her paper from so no one would steal her answers with the Christmas cards that they had just made. And then on the right-hand side, we had these Dickinson carolers come in. And our community room is a great space. We had foolishly that day decided to host the Catholic Foundation's grant ceremony on the other side of the community room. So the whole grant ceremony was punctuated by the sounds of Christmas carols. It was actually kind of nice. But and then we have this bucket of others. So we've got basic needs, emergency assistance, stabilization, seniors, and then these are mostly our children-focused programs and a few other kind of things. Our community room becomes a toy store starting in November every year for our neighbors, and we call that Toyland. So you get certified for network bucks in the community market, you get certified for network bucks in the clothing closet, you get certified for network bucks in Toyland. So you can pick what toys your children might want. Maybe they come from Santa Claus, maybe they come from you, maybe you are Muslim or Jewish and you don't celebrate Christmas, so you're gonna tuck it away for a birthday. It's a very empowering way to be able to select and shop for your children. This is 100% based off of toy donations that we receive. We host family events, so Tuesday this week, we had our back to school, not quite there yet, summer kickoff. The YMCA tech truck, snow cones, hot dogs, face painting, prize wheel, where families can come and just meet other families and be together. We offer after-school art classes 3 days a week at our facility for any RISD student who can come to us. We support the RISD Backpack Bash, and then of that collaboration, these are two notable collaborators that we have at our facility: Richardson Adult Literacy Center, providing GED and ESL courses, as well as RISD, their continuing education programs for GED, ESL, and Microsoft Office courses. Just some more pictures. Here's Toyland, as neighbors are shopping in it, and then our local police force also unloading toys. Breakfast with Santa, one of our family events. This year we had over 150 kids in attendance. And we saved those big ticket items like the bikes and all those really fun things for this event, and every kid gets to take home who comes a big ticket item. So here's what we did in 2022. 21,000 of our neighbors are served. As we look at our fiscal year, that number is actually closer to 27,000. And I mentioned about 45% of those are coming from those 3 zip codes in Lake Highlands. So that's about 11 or 12,000 unique people coming from the Lake Highlands area. Again, this numbers are gone up a little bit. 73,000 units of service. So every time that they access us, that counts as a unit of service. Food is, of course, our greatest need. It's statistically proven that accessing a food pantry is the most effective way to stretch your budget in any given month. You don't have the grocery bill, you can put gas in your car, pay off your medical bill, pay for your prescriptions, pay your light bill. Distributing 1.9 million pounds of food. Next greatest area of service is our clothing closet, and we distributed about $115,000 in housing assistance. This does not account for our mobile market numbers because we can't duplicate those numbers. So this is just people who we know came to Network. You have the annual report in front of you. This is one of our neighbor stories when I was talking about a senior with macular degeneration. Here she is. This is Mimi. She originally came to Network because she just couldn't make ends meet at the end of the month on her fixed income. And now she's an active participant in our Seniors Day program and has really found community and belonging and friends. What are we doing this year? These are a lot of priorities. I took over as Network CEO 9 months ago, and in my job description was the word mature network of community ministries. I said, in 38 years, how are we not mature? But we have work to do to continue to improve. So we are really focused on, I told you a lot about poundage, and items distributed, a number of people we served. We want to know not only did you get the food, but did that food stretch your budget that month? Are you able to eat at least 2 healthy meals a day? And that is reducing those food insecurity numbers. In stabilization, if we helped you get a job, how long were you able to keep that job? And if you lost the job, why? And how can we make sure that doesn't happen again? So we have implemented logic models. We are overhauling our community market. We are expanding services in mental health. And we're always looking for physical health partners as well to provide a medical home for our neighbors. We're overhauling our client management system. So for those who are techie, IT people in the room, how we input our data and how we get our data out is very tough right now, and we're working on that. And we are always looking for how we can grow. So how do you get involved with Network? First and foremost, volunteer. That can be at a mobile market stop here in Lake Highlands. That can be at our facility. It takes over 80 volunteers a day to do what we do. We have a $6.6 million budget and 21 staff. So those volunteers are how we can maximize our impact and how we serve our community. So lots of opportunities. We work closely if you've got kids in YMSL or NCL. And there's a good chance that your chapter is already volunteering with us, but we would love to welcome you. In-kind support is a huge other area as well. We need, these are our most common food items, hygiene products, diapers, wipes, baking items, and single-serve snacks. And then in our clothing closet, toddler's clothes. My daughter's 3.5. She's very hard on her clothes. And so typically it's better for a trash bin than for donation. But if you have some pretty good looking toddler clothes, we need that, baby clothes. We accept donations of all sorts of clothes and accessory items with the exception of used underwear and socks for obvious reasons. So we always accept new donations of those. If you are an event person, if you like golf, we have a great golf tournament September 15th. I do not play golf, but I do drive a margarita cart. I will keep you well stocked in margaritas out at Sherrill Park in Richardson. And then we have a great event called Fork Off. And it benefits our food programs at our network headquarters in Richardson. It's kind of a taste of event. So we've got 15 confirmed different restaurants and beverage vendors that will be there. Great silent auction, live auction, apron contest. It's a really fun time. And then of course I'm a former fundraiser. I would be shamed if I didn't say, just you can also always contribute monetarily. And if you have any questions, my cards are on the table, but that's also my contact information. So that is network. I know very riveting at 8 a.m. I'm not very excited. I apologize.
All right, good.
Any questions? Yes, sir.
I think you said on the front end, the roots of the organization
Yes.
come out of faith communities.
They do.
I'd be interested, what is the ongoing faith element throughout all the services you
So we
provide?
are a faith-based organization, but we do not actively proselytize to our neighbors. We do have a chapel in our facility that has mementos and relics from all three major Abrahamic religions. Again, when somebody needs a food pantry, it's not the greatest day. It's in use a lot. So we do have chaplaincy programs where we partner with different organizations to bring in community chaplains when appropriate. And we have those formalized stakeholder partnerships, and most of those are houses of worship and faith communities. So our stakeholders range from the Islamic Association of North Texas and Congregation Beth Torah, which is a conservative Jewish synagogue, to Lake Highlands United Methodist Church and Grace Church. So it's a component of our work. It drives our work, but there is no requirements of participating in Bible studies or accepting Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior to receive services. So we don't want faith to be a barrier to services, but if you want to deepen your faith journey or have conversations about your faith, we can facilitate that as an organization.
Thank you.
What other questions? Yes, sir.
Make clothing donations, is that the address?
It is 1500 International Parkway in Richardson, Texas. If you live around here, it's a quick shot up Plano Road. Any other questions? I did fail to mention the RASD Welcome Center is in our facility. So if you ever have if you ever encounter a refugee family, a pregnancy parenting family, a homeless family in RASD, they're going to come to us already. So we are very integrated in the district. It's how I know Chris and so much of our RASD community very well, and they are one of our closest partners and one of our largest stakeholders. So very, very integrated there. Okay. Thank you.
Seems on a Friday morning we could tell
Thanks again, Abby,
that
and
third
as a
of your
token
closet that
of our
you never do
appreciation,
anything
your
with,
next
bring it
cup of
here.
coffee, you can exchange club, Yeti Light cup.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Let's give Abby one more round of applause. El Jefe, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you again. I think it was awesome. And we we'd love to talk further to see how potentially the Exchange Club could partner up with you guys in one way or another. Reminder to RSVP for our induction dinner next week, and with that, y'all have a great Friday. We are adjourned.